on a previous video I did last night, I was going in on this self-serving professional bullshit artist and D.L. Hughley, who wants to use fear talk, guilt tripping, and shaming tactics to get you to vote for Kamala Harris. Because he had some kind of epiphany and he's all in on the Kamala Harris choo-choo train. But as I was going on this buffoon last night, this was taking place. Now, for those of you who may not be aware, this was a campaign rally for Vice Presidential Vice President Kamala Harris, presidential hopeful. They did a campaign rally out in Atlanta last night, and Megan Thee Stallion performed, and Quavo said some things, right? I'll get to him in a minute. But Megan Thee Stallion, and she's out there with her entourage, twerking it up, wrapping it up like it was going out of style. And we've seen throughout the years, and I'm talking about in recent years, of how the Democrats would pander to black folks. Whether it be get your booty to the polls, where you have a whole bunch of strippers writing vote on the back of their butt cheek, or writing something crazy on their titty or whatever like that, right? So you got get your booty to the polls, and that was 4 years ago. Then get your booty to the polls evolved into no voting, no vucking, but you got some spicy individual. Matter of fact, he's a very spicy, zesty individual in Saucy Santana. I'm trying to keep things a little PG for the sake of YouTube, so that way I'm not bullying. But you got this spicy, zesty dude with multicolored eagle talons on his fingernails, or her fingernails, or its fingernails. And Trina put her hands in that bullshit. Then you get this. A woman whose lies has put a man in prison for 10 years. And in case you don't know what I'm talking about Tory Lanez. Four years ago, right before you get your booty to the polls, there was the situation that Megan Thee Stallion, Kelsey Harris, and Tory Lanez was involved in, right? Kelsey Harris found out that Megan Thee Stallion was fucking Tory Lanez behind her back. There was a fight in the back of the SUV. The fight spilled outside the SUV. There were some shots rang out. Megan Thee Stallion had some injuries to her foot. Tory Lanez was accused of shooting Megan Thee Stallion. There was a trial. Tory Lanez was found guilty. Tory Lanez is doing 10 years in the bean. All the meanwhile, what didn't get talked about in the media, right, was the fact that it was some DNA evidence that came back that was inconclusive, meaning Tory Lanez did not shoot Megan Thee Stallion. It was the best friend that shot Megan Thee Stallion, Kelsey Harris, the former best friend. There was an Instagram live that's since been deleted of the former best friend, Kelsey Harris, going in on Megan Thee Stallion, right? There was also the fact that Kelsey Harris got to take the stand, and she got immunity for taking the stand, testifying against Tory Lanez. There was also some hush money payments that didn't get talked about. Right? See, I'm telling you stuff that the media didn't tell you, but yet you're gonna have some dimwit coming here and talk about, oh man, you just hate no Megan Thee Stallion. How do you know you were there? Shut up. That's what I'm gonna tell you. So this woman here, she's so traumatized about that infamous night that she's gonna take her ass on the stage and twerk it off in front of everybody. But she traumatized by what happened that night with Tory Lanez and her former best friend Kelsey Harris. What's up, y'all? I see y'all in the building, man. You know what I'm saying? Thank you for tuning in. All the meanwhile, she was on CBS this morning with Stale King, the modern day Angela Bassett hound, and that beady-eyed woman asked Megan Thee Stallion to her face if she slept with Tory Lanez, and she sat there and told that bullshit ass lie about how she wasn't sleeping with Tory Lanez. All the meanwhile, she was banging that thing out, backing that thing up, and bouncing off that motherfucker like a pogo stick. She knew good well she was fucking Tory Lanez, and that the friend was gonna find out about it. That would prompted the fight in the back of the SUV. But Tory Lanez is doing time in prison while she's out there living her best life, right? The fuck out of here, man. Yeah, you savage, all right. But aside from that, there's a bigger thing in play here. From the get your booty to the polls to the no vote and no fucking, this is what the Democrats think about us as black society. This is what they think about us. They think that we just all about twerking, cars, clothes, and hoes. That's what they think about. They think that all we about is cars, clothes, and hoes. And that somebody with a nice body, right? Big titties, no BBL, right? Fake hair, fake nails, all that type of shit, lipstick, can do a handstand, can pop that pussy with heels on. Singing corny ass motherfucking songs like "Do That Thing, Hey Love, Jumping to the Flow." Right, get the fuck out of here, man. That's the type of shit that they out here throwing out here in the atmosphere. And no, we stay on subject. You're not gonna come here and talk about what the Republicans are doing. We're not gonna talk about that. We're not talking about what the fuck the Republican Party is doing because that ain't the subject matter. Because when I do talk about the Republican Party, none of you whole ass motherfuckers is around when I'm jumping on the ass of the Republicans or whatever like that. So no, you're not gonna come and talk about what about what the Republicans are doing. Because when I'm doing those videos, your ass ain't nowhere to be found. So yeah, we're not doing that. We staying right here. So once again, I ask, right? What is the policy that Kamala Harris is going to do or put in place that's going to benefit the black society? What are her policies? See, no amount of ass shaking on stage, no amount of bussy being thrown around the area, whatever like that, is going to get me to go vote for this woman when this woman has a history of putting the black folks. She's had a history of this. And then before you come out and say, oh man, that was so long ago. What has she done now? What has she done now? Leopards don't change their spots. Tigers don't change their stripes. So what has she done? What is she putting in place that's going to benefit Black society now? And if you can't answer that question, right, to all the people that you got to do your research, then I'm gonna do what I've always done, and I'm gonna sit this motherfucker out. Now, if you want to go vote for a part-time Black woman, full-time con artist, go right ahead. God bless you. You do what's in your right to do. But I'm not going to go vote for somebody that went to HBCU, that's from Oakland, California, that that she's a part of a sorority and all that. I'm not voting for none of that. She need to come up with something better than that. You need to come up with something better than that. But again, if you really want to know what pisses off the Black society, is stuff like this. We don't subscribe to this. And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Quavo. You're coming off as a hypocrite, right? You can't sit up here and talk about gun violence, and yet the lyrics in your songs glorify gun violence. So make up your mind of what you want. Same thing with Megan Thee Stallion. Y'all sitting up here talking this shit about, oh man, we need to address the gun violence and we need all this other stuff, but yet the lyrics in your content glorify gun violence. You're confusing people. You can't sit up here and portray yourself to be this upstanding citizen, that you have class and demeanor and all that. All the meanwhile, you're out here twerking it off every chance you get. You putting on degenerate, disgusting behavior. We don't rock with this. A half cut off shirt with a tie, and you twerking that motherfucker like was going out of style, right? Now, mind you, to people like me, I've seen twerking for like over 30 years in my life. Motherfuckers was twerking back in the night. People in my age group have been twerking in the 90s. They'd be in the club grinding on motherfuckers and all that. I had women grinding on me and shit. So this twerking thing ain't nothing new. They were doing that shit at Freaknik. When Freaknik was a thing. Back in the 90s. Y'all know I ain't lying. But see, this is what they think of us. They think as Black people, all we do is drink, smoke, fuck, and just see a whole bunch of hoes, twerking it off while we throwing our dollars at them and shit. They don't think that, oh man, you got Black society here. They're really upstanding citizens. And they just want to be taken care of. No, we can't think about that. We don't support that. No, let's just trot some women out there and dance in front of them. That'll get them out there. That'll get them out to vote. Yeah, the same old plays in the same old playbook, year after year after year. Riddle me this, Batman. If the country's so much in peril, if the fate of democracy is at stake, then you would figure they would cater to the very base that they're looking for support. Instead, the tried and true bootlicks is working overtime to shame you and guilt trip you and Bible thump and finger wag at you if you don't vote for this woman, you ain't black, you're crazy, you're weird, you're everything else. You're a Russian bot, right? It's disgusting. So it makes no sense that this type of thing keeps going on every day. You got the bougie, the boule, and the other cheese and croissant circuit members. They will sit up here and raise all this kind of money for Kamala Harris, but yet they won't raise that same kind of money for a homeless vet or a person who might be down on their luck or to uplift their own communities. They'll look at a guy like me like I'm trying to get them for something, yet they'll still give their money to a con artist and a politician. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. So it's the same old tried and true playbook. It's disgusting. It's unacceptable. I can't rock with that. I just can't. What's up, y'all? Josh Johnson, Maxwell Royalty, Hamza S. Man, salute to all y'all in the building. My man Eric. Appreciate y'all for tuning in on this Wednesday, man. And yeah, everybody wanna. And then you got these same people out here they'll talk down on you for not supporting this woman, and yet they'll put up here and talk about well, what happened with Project 2025? Well, 2025 ain't here yet. Project 2025 ain't here yet. So what's the difference between Project 2025 and what we got going on right now with all kinds of illegal immigrants coming in the country, raping, pillaging, plundering, getting all kinds of government assistance and stuff like that? Yeah, you won't speak to that though. All you shills and bootlicks that support the Democrats won't speak to that though. You won't speak to how both sides of the aisle is responsible for what's going on in this country. They keep talking about how the country's in peril and that the fate of democracy is at stake. Meanwhile, they're the ones that's causing it with all the corruption and all the 3 o'clock in the morning backdoor deals in oil fields type shit going on. They're the ones out here getting caught up in all kinds of scandal, whether it be Bob Menendez, Trump himself. You got enablers like goddamn Jim Jordan. You got Adam Schiff getting caught up in shit. Biden with his long-standing record of tyranny towards the black community and all that. Both sides of the aisle are why things are wrong in this country. But what's the answer to all of life's problems within the black community? Yeah, let's just trust some hoes out, let them twerk in front of us and all that, and now shut these black people up. Who y'all gonna trot out next? Sexy Red or Stanky Hana? Like, Stanky Hana, she'll twerk her ass outside of a Popeyes if I get her some free chicken. She'll be out there doing them goddamn handstands like that one Rhode Island state senator did a couple years ago. You give Stanky Hana some free chicken, she'll be right outside Popeyes twerking it up. You give Lizzo a golden ticket to go to Corral, she'll be outside doing the goddamn twerk dance too. So how much they getting paid under the table to come out here putting on these cringeworthy type performances and all that? Huh? And speaking of cringe, Lord have mercy, Kamala Harris, with your your cringeworthy self, man. Anytime you say something, I just like, oh my Lord, why? Why? So, fair use. So this is the speech that Vice President Kamala Harris came out to last night, right? As she's waving to the crowd and all that. Look at me, I'm about to be president. So let's just get to it. DJ, spin that shit.
Good evening, Georgia.
Is you gonna speak?
For your extraordinary leadership. So, Georgia, it is so good to be back, and I am very clear. The path to the White House runs right through this state.
Now, how many other states she's going to say that about? How many other states that when she gets there, the first thing she's going to say, right, whether it be Wisconsin, whether it be in Pennsylvania, whether it be in Wisconsin. Does it say Wisconsin? God damn it. Whether it be in Michigan. Because y'all remember, back in 2020, those were the four main states that the Republicans tried to challenge the election results in Atlanta, Detroit, Philadelphia, and Milwaukee. What those four cities have in common? Those four cities are predominantly black cities. So in Michigan, Wisconsin, and in Pennsylvania, she's going to push the same line. The road to the White House is going to go through this state. Watch what I tell you.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. So let's get right down. So I'm gonna get into some business now. Okay, I'm gonna get into some business now. All right. So Georgia, as many of you know, before, and have a seat if you have a chair. As many of you know, before I was elected vice president and before I was elected a United States Senator, I was an elected Attorney General and an elected District Attorney.
Not a good one, but okay.
And before that, I was a courtroom prosecutor.
Not a good one either at that, but go ahead.
So in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds.
Oh, like how you took on Steve Mnuchin?
Predators who abuse women. Fraudsters who ripped off consumers.
Oh, really? Really? You took on fraudsters? Okay. All right. More like you ran away from them And after you ran away from him and you declined to press charges against him, they fund your election campaigns for attorney general and junior senator, right? Okay. Let's continue on.
Cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Yeah, you know they type, you just won't go after them.
I know the type. And I have been dealing with people like him my entire career. For example, as Attorney General of California, I took on one of our country's largest for-profit colleges that was scamming students. Well, Donald Trump ran a for-profit college that scammed students.
Did anybody go to jail? Right? Because see, Kamala Harris, what she'll do, she'll pull these empty weasel words. This Michelin 5-star chef of word salad would try to paint this rosy picture of this person who was tougher on crime, that she was go after these criminals or whatever like that. Right? But what you will find more often than not, that she didn't go after them. She declined to press charges. If anything, they might get a fine. If anything. But none of these people went to jail. None of them. So she can sit up there and talk this shit about how she was an attorney general and how she was a prosecutor out in San Francisco. But the fact of the matter is that she ran from these type of people.
As a prosecutor, I specialized in child sexual abuse cases and sexual abuse cases. Well, Trump was found liable for...
Oh, she said, oh, you talked about child sexual abuse cases, huh? Well, interesting that you said that. I'm going to read something coming from the National Catholic Register, right? Clergy sex abuse victim cries foul over how Kamala Harris treated him 2 decades ago. Joy Piscatelli told the Register that during the 7-year period Harris served as the San Francisco District Attorney, she repeatedly declined his request to release relevant documents and to meet with him. Some advocates for victims said she didn't help them when she could have, particularly during the 7-year period when she had control of personnel files of Catholic priests accused of sex crimes. But you went after him, right? Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and tell lies to these unsuspecting people, because, you know, the same Bible thumpers and these same cheese and croissant circus members who sitting up here putting on these fear tactics talk about, you gotta do your research. They won't tell you, but no shit like this.
For committing sexual abuse. And as an attorney general, I held the big Wall Street banks accountable for fraud. Donald Trump.
Did you? Did you now? Did you now? Okay. You held One West Bank accountable, right? You held One West Bank accountable for running that massive fraud scheme that got a whole bunch of people kicked out their homes. Then how the hell did Steve Mnuchin become the Treasury Secretary under the Trump administration then, if you held people accountable? Steve Mnuchin should have been in fucking jail. George Soros should have been in fucking jail. But you held these people accountable, right? The fuck out of here. You didn't hold anybody accountable. You didn't hold a goddamn soul accountable. See, you can sit up here and fool most of the unsuspecting public, but you can't fool me. I see through the scam. You don't want to be faced with tough questions, because every time this woman got faced with tough questions, she start. What's the first thing she do? She start cackling like a hyena.
Was just found guilty of fraud. 34 counts.
Hold on, didn't Trump donate the your campaign at one point? I wouldn't be surprised if he did. Didn't Trump donate to your campaign at one point? You sitting up here talking shit about this man? This man's kicked you off out in California.
So in this campaign,
Hey, for all y'all talk about Trump need to be locked up, that woman need to be locked up for prosecutorial misconduct. Her record is shoddy at best. This woman's blocked evidence that would have had a man freed from prison. Ain't that prosecutorial misconduct? So before y'all people talk about lock him up, she need to be locked up too for prosecutorial misconduct. Right? Stevie J, 3,000 Degrees, Crawford Experience, salute to y'all. My little brother Max was royalty in the building. So let's continue on. I'm not going to play this whole 20-minute thing. I'm just going to skip to some other highlights of this thing.
Visions for our nation. One focused on the future, the other focused on the past. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity to build a business, to own a home, to build intergenerational wealth, a future with affordable health care, affordable child care, paid leave. And all of this is to say, building up the middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Okay, so how you plan on doing that? All that might sound good to the general public, right? But I see this is nothing more than empty weasel words. It's nothing specific. There's nothing foundational about what she's saying. It's just a whole bunch of buzzwords that got people clapping, but there's nothing specific that's going to make you go out there and vote for this woman.
Because we here all know, when our middle class is strong, America is strong.
No, you're in a predominantly black city. You talk about when the middle class is strong. Man, look, where's our reparations checks at, woman? Fuck all that bullshit. Where's our reparations checks? When can we go after the cops? But then again, I don't expect you to say nothing about the cops, considering that your ass was a prosecutor. Your ass protected the cops.
And to keep our middle class strong, families need relief from the high cost of living so that they have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead.
And we in the black society need the police to stop killing us.
And yes, it is true that by many indicators, our economy is the strongest in the world. But while inflation is down and wages are up, prices are still too high. You know it and I know it. And when we win this election, here's what we're going to do about it. On day one, I will take on price gouging and bring down costs.
No, you won't. Your history has proven that you won't do that because you won't hold these people accountable. That's responsible for it. So how can I trust a con artist like you to really go after the people that's responsible for why this so-called country's in peril? Oh yeah, I know why you won't go after them, because they're kicking you off. You're bought and paid for.
We will ban more of those hidden fees and surprise late charges that banks and other companies use to pad their profits. We will take on corporate landlords and cap unfair rent increases. And we will take on big pharma to cap prescription drug costs for all Americans. Our plan will lower costs and save many middle-class families thousands of dollars a year. But Donald Trump has a different plan in mind, one that would raise prices on middle-class families. Just look at his Project 2025 agenda.
Here we go, fearmonger about Project 2025 and all that. Right? Here we go with the fear-mongering.
I take it you've seen it. Project 2025 is a plan to weaken the middle class. Be clear. And Donald Trump intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to gut our investments in clean energy jobs. He intends to end the Affordable Care Act, to take us back to a time when insurance companies had the power to deny people with pre-existing conditions. You guys remember what that was?
All right. I'm not going to bore you anymore with this nonsense, right? I want to get to what Judge Joe Brown had to say. Let's see what Judge Joe Brown, right? Shout out to Judge Joe Brown, man. Judge Joe Brown went all the way to fuck in, man. And this interview is courtesy of the Art of the Dialogue, right? If you're not subscribed to the Art of Dialogue, please subscribe to this channel. Let's see what Judge Joe Brown had to say.
But I gotta ask you about Kamala Harris. How you feel about her?
She's a piece of shit. I was in California. She lacked professional competence, and she worked on it by hiking up her hemline when she needed influence rather than researching. I was out in California for 15 years doing my show when she was at her peak, and she had a reputation amongst the trial lawyers of being lazy. She just hike her skirt up and try to flirt, and she wasn't that good in the courtroom, if not pretty bad in the courtroom. So I'm not surprised at what she does. She's 60 years old, and I think, listening to her word salad and the way she talks, I think she's got early onset dementia and also some problems with menopausal complications. That's that. You see, today is going to be tomorrow. So since it's going to be tomorrow, today we have tomorrow, which is why we are now. Like, what did you say? They have something in mind, but they cannot cognate getting all the way through it, which is why she's famous for this word salad garbage, and she doesn't make a bit of sense. I think since she's only 60, she's actually on a worse track than Biden was. Biden is 20-some years older than.
Now, see, when I called that out about her being a 5-star Michelin chef of word salad, I got called a hater. Oh, you just hating on a black woman. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris ain't black. Her birth certificate says she's Caucasian. But when I called that out, I got called a hater. Oh, you just don't like black women. You're a misogynist. That's the kind of stupid shit I was getting. So what are you going to say about Judge Joe Brown? And he far more credible to speak on this than I am. So if I called it out and I hit the bullseye, then I'm a savant in this shit.
Than her. And he has been senile for a long time. Now, about 5 or 6 years ago, when did they start ramping up to do this? 2019. Okay. I was saying Biden has been a failure his whole adult career, a second-rate, third-string player. He's in the game, so he wants to make a name for himself. I considered him for years poor trailer park, urban trailer park trash. And he's a crook. He's a third stringer. Now, what I said he was going to do is he probably wants to claim fame for being the first person to see to it that a woman got to be president. And what I predicted, I'm slightly wrong on it, was that he was going to get in, try to get elected, and if he got one term, try to get elected for a second one. And then halfway through his term, when he had served 2 years, to retire or resign in her favor. So under the 22nd Amendment, what happens is she can serve for the final 2 years for somebody and then be elected twice more. So that woman would be able to serve 10 years, second only to Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who got elected to 4 terms before they put the amendment in place so you couldn't. Now, that said, I think, and my major at UCLA was political science. My analysis is they picked the weakest somebody they could as a figurehead, somebody who had some apparent minority status, which she does not. And what goes on is that you get her, everybody that is everybody would be afraid to go against her because of what she can pass herself off as. And then you get somebody that's easy to control because she's lazy, because she is becoming incoherent, and because she's always tried to do the casting couch to get where she wants. Now, the problem is
Boy, Judge Joe Brown's a goddamn savage, bro. But it's true though. Hey man, shout out to the homie Tom Business in the building, man. Hey man. Hey, go subscribe to Tom Business Sports and Entertainment if you haven't. That's the homie right there. You know what I'm saying? So salute to the big homie in the building. Hey man, Judge Joe Brown ain't holding nothing back. I told you this man was gonna go all in on her. You think this is crazy? There's more shit to this.
That'll get somebody to a certain level quickly. But you can't get past that level if you don't have competence and talent. So my thing about it is if I'm crude about it, in this city years ago, I used to represent a whole bunch of pimps and hoes, and I know a hoe when I see one. And I say this, I don't care, women, you do what you want to do if you want to have recreational sex, but when you do the casting couch or anything else for professional purposes to get paid or advance, you a hoe. And she's old hoe. And the problem is what is she supposed to do? Somebody, one of her sycophant slaves comes up and unwraps her in a carpet naked at Putin's feet, and he says, oh yeah, I'm Julius Caesar. He said, no, I got better stuff here already. Plus, I don't want you anyway, you old woman. Get on up, you know. Or Xi Jinping, is he supposed to be impressed? She's doing word salad. Well, we're here today because China and the U.S. are here today, and that's why we have to agree on what we're doing here today. Like, fool, what did you just say? You know, did you say anything? And I've never seen such a salacious mess as I've seen out of her. I think a One West Bank. I had some pretty good properties out in California at one point in time.
Here we go. Hey, did I not tell you about One West Bank? Haven't I not been telling you about One West Bank and George Soros and Steve Mnuchin? And I mean, in California, I told y'all about this shit, right? But hey, for all you people out there talking about, you got to do your research. You won't tell nobody but this one, won't you? All you motherfuckers out there, all you sycophants, all you, oh boy, y'all really want to make me go off on y'all ass, right? I told y'all about One West Bank. Let him tell y'all about One West Bank.
And I know I had 3 neighbors who had good properties. It was in a place called Ojai, California. And they got caught up about 15, 16 years ago, like a lot of people did, in that mortgage bundling scam stuff that was going on. And there was a bank called One West Bank responsible for it, which was owned by George Soros. The Mnuchin that you have out of the Obama administration was Mnuchin, who was the CEO of One West Bank. Well, there were approximately 1,200 counts of indictments returned against Mnuchin and One West Bank in various counties in California. Well, Mnuchin and Soros financed and arranged and sponsored Kamala to run for Attorney General of California. They got her elected. She got in, and using the authority she had, she promptly consolidated all 5,200 counts and dismissed them. And a couple of weeks later, Soros sold One West Bank for $4.2 billion. So after that, they got together and got her finance and got everything organized and made the connections for her, and she got elected to U.S. Senator. Willie Brown.
Now, you let Kamala Harris tell it. She went after these people who committed fraud and all that. Now, she lied. She blatantly told a bull-faced lie to them voters out there in Atlanta last night, talk about how she took on people who committed fraud and she knew what they looked like. And Judge Joe Brown just came out and exposed the whole goddamn deal. Now, I've been telling y'all about the One West Bank. I told y'all about this. Do you believe me now?
Brown made the initial contacts and arrangements so she could get elected as district attorney for San Francisco. She didn't do a very good job. She had a reputation for giving out the stiffest sentences in the United States of America for simple possession of marijuana in San Francisco, for God's sakes. But it was only to young black men. She's not a parent, never had any children, but she went off on this campaign to lock parents up, some of whom actually were shown to have dropped their children off at the school, but they played hooky, so she was putting them in jail.
Now, for all you black women out there that talk about, I ride with Kamala. She was putting black women in jail off that bullshit ass truancy law in San Francisco. I told you about that too. I told you about that too. But let's continue on.
I know my in-laws, now late in-laws, because they're dead, and their fine daughter that I was married to, we were divorced. She got a whole lot of money, but anyway, out of me. What wound up happening was there was a liquor store they like to patronize on the way home, and it was a good liquor store, but it got held up a lot. So Kamala's solution was not go get the crooks, but close down the liquor store so nobody would be troubled by it. See, that kind of philosophy. Or you've got the serial killer who's got 6 victims, and the families are writing protest letters to her, not hurry up and do something, not why are you giving the guy such a light deal, is why don't you let this man plead guilty to life without parole instead of delaying it for 7 years, trying to make political hay out of it. I was caught up in a thing where this woman who was supposed to be a financial specialist wound up embezzling a lot, $1.5 million from me, about 15 million from some other black celebrities. And most of it was in the San Francisco area, not LA where I was. She consolidated the cases up there in San Francisco, took 5 years to resolve it, let her plead out not the $15 million of embezzlement, but $35,000. The sentence was 5 years in the penitentiary, 4.5 years suspended, 5 years probation. The woman wound up sitting on a bench outside Sybil Branch, which is the women's detention facility in LA County, for 5.5 hours. That's all the time she served, made no restitution. And la-di-da, I'm through with it now. I don't care on her behalf. Like, where's our money? You know, what did you do here? You didn't even consult with us. You did this on a surprise basis. There's $15 million gone. What happened? It's the kind of thing she would do, see. So it's like, that was not a good professional performance. And then she was everybody's favorite Hindu Indian prosecutor and attorney general and senator, and now she becomes black. But, you know, I met her daddy, fine gentleman, Professor Harris. And the problem with her being black is Professor Harris says he's Caucasian, mixed Irish and Hindu. He doesn't have any black ancestors, but his Irish ancestors owned a lot of slaves in Jamaica and had them to work on plantation. So if mama is on the birth certificate listed as a Caucasian, daddy says he's a Caucasian Hindu and has no black ancestors, how did she get to be black?
That's a great question. How did she get to be black? When did she practice the art of evolution and become this black woman? Because she was an Asian when she was a senator also. When she was the junior senator out in California, she would parade herself around as an Asian. So how did the art of evolution take place and she was black? How did she become black? Her birth certificate says she's Caucasian. How did she become black? You're done. You're fucking done. Anybody try to tell me this woman's black, you're done. I will destroy you.
Now, a little side story. When I had my show, let's say this has been 26 years ago, I had two beautiful women that I thought were sisters on the show. And they laughed one time when we all went to a happy hour and said, "You think we're black, don't you?" "Yeah, aren't you?" "No, we're Hindu." One of them said, "My mother's a Hindu Brahmin caste. My father was Hindu warrior caste. He took an oath to the family to protect her. They fell in love, eloped, and now we got a death warrant on us. We can't go back to India." So, yeah. And then they gave me 2 books. The guys were Hindu, and they were very dark, but they cut their hair off close, grew beards, and started dressing and acting black, and they got financial aid. One of them, I think, went through medical school that way, masquerading for being black. Somebody else did it. So she went to Howard. And by the way, she told one big lie when she was talking about she got bust because of something Biden did when she was running against him. Well, the yearbook that she put out there that you can still get online from her high school in Canada shows she went from kindergarten through 12th grade in Canada, never went to school in the United States of America. She was born, by the way, in the same hospital that my ex-wife was born in, the same 12-month period. And my late mother-in-law was, in fact, a pediatric nurse in that hospital when Kamala was born. And the birth certificate that she has is interesting because the confusion comes from a mistake. on the birth certificate, it lists the mother's race as Caucasian, national origin India, and religion Hindu. For the father, it does not list national origin. It does not list religion. It does not list anything about that, but where it says race, they put national origin in Jamaica by mistake. Now, if you've ever been to Jamaica and you go over to St. Elizabeth Parish, you see all the high, bright, and white that live in Jamaica. So I've got a good friend retired from law enforcement. He has a white wife, blonde-haired, blue eyes, but she was born in Jamaica. Her parents were born in Jamaica. One's blonde and blue-eyed, the other one's red-haired and gray-eyed. And they happen to be related to the King of England because they are aristocrats in England, but they were born in Jamaica. So if you go over there, you see people from Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Australia, Kenya, South Africa, you name it. It's part of the British Commonwealth, and nobody needed a passport, and you could just go in and out. So it's not unusual. You're not black just because you were from Jamaica, and you have a whole lot of white people that never left, and their ancestors owned a lot of slaves. The Maroons went up into the hill country and got themselves free back in the 1840s, but other than that, it is what it is in Jamaica. So just because you are from that country does not mean you are of the black race. So the problem is why don't you go get your daddy to give you an affidavit that you have a black ancestor? And since the only possible claim you have is through your great-grandmother, who he says was a Hindu house servant that just happens to be swarthy, where'd you get your blackness from? See, you're faking it again. And I say this after 50 years of experience, the worst human beings you will ever find are career prosecutors. Something slimy about them. They are so turned off by humanity and everything else. They don't care. They're trying to win the game. It is just play to them. They don't give a damn about the people they represent. They just want to win. So they lie, cheat, steal to win the game. And that brings up the other thing, where the Supreme Court of California ordered her to produce the evidence that was exculpating to somebody sitting up on death row that she had hidden. They did that over and over and over again with her hiding this evidence. Now, there are exceptions to this rule with career prosecutors, but if you ever want to sleazy somebody, find yourself a career prosecutor who's never done anything else but that until they have moved up. Now, there have been people like Thomas Dewey, who was a career prosecutor. He got Lucky Luciano, the gangster that set up the mob as a syndicate, a business. He got him and became governor of New York and then an unsuccessful candidate for president twice. You have people like that, and you got Kamala, who was a career prosecutor, and that's essentially all she's done outside of moving directly over into politics. They tend to be crooks. They're not good people. It's like I used to.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, right? Because I talked about that a bunch of times, right? Now, why hasn't Kamala Harris come out and said that, you know what, there's a whole bunch of prosecutorial misconduct going on in the country, and that, we really need to do something about this because we got black folks unjustly put in prison doing football numbers over crimes they didn't commit. There was a story where a guy out in Colorado did 28 years in prison because a woman said she had a dream about being raped. And that was enough to put a black man in jail for 28 years, right? While this man was in prison, this man got a letter from a dude saying that, hey, there's no way she could have been raped that night because we had sex. On the same night in question, we had sex. That man got that damn letter while he was in prison. He was released in 2013. He got retried in 2016 and he got found not guilty. Think of it this way. A man got 28 years in prison over a crime he didn't commit. You had another dude that was on what's that goddamn show? Phil McGraw's show, Dr. Phil. Man did 14 years in prison off a false rape allegation. And then Dr. Phil had this man on here, and then this woman out here crying, looking for sympathy. But she cost this man 14 years of his life. It couldn't have been me. It couldn't have been me, because all them crocodile tears that bitch was crying on that goddamn episode, I would tell her ass, let God forgive you, because I don't. Bitch, you cost me 14 years of my fucking life. And you sitting here looking for forgiveness? Ask God to forgive you. But aside from that, Kamala Harris is not going to come out and say, you know what? There's all kinds of unjust prison sentences being put on by black folks over crimes they didn't commit, and we really need to hold these lawyers, these judges, these police officers who lie on police reports. We really need to hold them accountable. We really need to go after these individuals. She's not going to do that. You know why she's not going to do that? Because it's going to expose everything about her. How she was kicked off by the police unions out in San Francisco, and why she was running to be an attorney general. She's still being kicked off by police unions. She's pro-police. You didn't have it. When have you heard her come out saying that, oh, we're going to defund the police? When have you heard her say that? And I'm not just talking about the one-time anomaly that sounds good to get people to come out and vote for me. I'm talking about her putting policy on the ballot, her putting feet to the ground, and then making sure that these people who are committing these acts blatantly get held accountable. You've never heard her say that, let alone do anything about it. So why should I vote for her again? Tell me, why should I vote for her? Oh, because she's black? She's not black, she's white. But let's continue on.
On the bench, it's like, excuse me, can you approach both of you? Do you have any character? Do you realize what you just did? Well, I mean, no, we can't have that. That is not going to be allowed up in here. You do it again, and the court's going to see to it that you get a 10-day paid vacation courtesy of the sheriff. No. See, and that's what I'm looking at. She wants to be chief administrative officer, but she's never been the boss over anything. She was nominally with the Attorney General's office, but you've got all of these egos with all of these people with doctorate of laws who've taken the bar exam, and every one of them in there could run against you in an election and be your boss, and is as qualified technically as you are to run the place. So she's never been the boss in charge of something where she dictated, because what she did in San Francisco and when she got over California is she essentially had somebody else doing it, and she was just a political figurehead. So when you come into this situation here, Putin, Russia, Ukraine, those are serious things. They have a lot of nukes. You've got Xi Jinping, and China's got one hell of a huge army, air force, nukes, computer systems, and so on. What is your experience in international diplomacy? You got made the representative of the country to handle the foreign affairs. You failed so badly they yanked you out when you were actually the boss in charge. The borders are, you just complete abject failure to that. Your only appearance down there was to sit in a chair in the desert while they interviewed you, trying to be cute, flashing your pearls, and you didn't do your job. So you're talking now about you want to legitimize 20 million aliens who've come in here and see that they get fast tracked so they can vote and become part of the whole process. What are you doing? Whose jobs are you taking away? What about the people that actually lined up to go through the rules? I want to become a citizen, so I take the courses. See, nobody's checking. They've got an outbreak of hepatitis. They got an outbreak of measles. HIV is ramped up. They've got all kinds of things. They've got problems with strains of tuberculosis that have no cure. So people before they come down with it, you have to put them on prophylactics for the rest of their life so they don't get a fatal illness that nobody can cure. So nobody is running the medical test. Nobody is checking to see what penitentiary they got out of. And something that is pretty real is a movie. You remember Al Pacino in Scarface? They dumped all their penitentiaries and they're over here. You got all of these Latino gangs that have now infiltrated. You've got Ukraine, you've got Gaza, you've got people that hate the fact that they don't have technology to shoot down a B-1B bomber. So what do? They just walk across the damn border. Nobody's checking them. Somebody is giving them free transportation without even vetting their luggage. And in the luggage, they have military-grade explosives, which over the last several years, I'm sure they put in various building structures, hospitals, subways, and everything else. And on command, they flip the switch, and 911 looks like a Boy Scout meeting. So what are you going to do about these things? Nobody's checking. You have a situation right now that has to be taken into context. Just about every major seaport is using these container removal cranes, these giant gantry cranes. They're made in the People's Republic of China. Nobody checked them, and now they went back and did, and there seem to be some things built into them that they can't remove. Don't know what the function is, but they appear to be communication devices. What the hell are those? You know, so
Look, we gonna look, but let people like this guy tell it. If you don't do your research, then you're missing out on something historic. You let individuals like, where's she at? Damn, I might have deleted her. You got this person here twerking it off on stage. All that is to distract you from policy. Policy. This is what we're looking for. We're looking for policy that's going to benefit the black community specifically, since she's supposed to be this black woman. What's up, Reef? She's supposed to be this black woman, right? Okay. If then she's a black woman, then Rachel Dolezal is a black woman too. If Kamala Harris is a black woman, then Jessica Krug is a black woman too. Anyway, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, right? Hit that like button, support the channel, share these videos on your social media platforms. Last but definitely not least, shouts out to the LDBC. This your man, scream at me. Ho!